Me, Stephanie, that all of these people who believe that their lives are, that bread is too high and eggs are too high, that they voted for a convicted fella, a guy who said we can grab the pea.
I think that a lot.
They voted for this guy.
I'm not defending it, but I think there are tons of people that don't pay attention to, and I'm not defending it, don't pay attention to politics at all. But while we live in the most prosperous country in the world, people are saying life's not fair. I'm not doing well. My son's still living in the basement. I can't seem to get a job. I don't like the status quo. I'm voting for something else. And
I love you to life.
I love you.
But I do not believe that. I cannot believe that. And the reason I think you believe it is because you don't want to believe that that's what's really motivating them. It's always the case. People don't want to believe what the country actually is, because if they believe it, they're going to have to confront what's in them. I don't believe that. They voted for a crook, a person who they know is stealing from, just doing everything to undermine the so-called country that they love. And then they're telling us the BS that it's economics.
This black professor, Eddie Crowd, came out to cook this white journalist. They try to twist each and everything. They've been saying that racism in America is like a hateful individuals. This is something from people, certain group of people. But this black professor came out to remind these white people that racism in America, it's a structural system they brought in place to conquer. They built it. They sat down. They create each and everything which will be connected to this racism to let them conquer, to let them do each and everything they need to achieve. And it really worked for them. This is something a lot of people need to hear this time around, because when you try to hear this conversation, this discussion, these white journalists try to twist, try to say, no, don't say something like this. You know, a lot of white people don't want anyone to talk about racism. Guys, let's dive into today's episode. Let's get to hear each and everything. Then we'll come back with more commentaries.
People voted because their life's too damn expensive. And it was here, and
they voted for, you're telling me, Stephanie, that all of these people who believe that their lives are, that bread is too high and eggs are too high, that they voted for a convicted fella, a guy who said we can grab the pea.
I think that a lot.
They voted for this guy.
I'm not defending it, but I think there are tons of people that don't pay attention to, and I'm not defending it, don't pay attention to politics at all. But while we live in the most prosperous country in the world, people are saying life's not fair. I'm not doing well. My son's still living in the basement. I can't seem to get a job. I don't like the status quo. I'm voting for something else. And
I love you to life.
I love you.
But I do not believe that. I cannot believe that. And the reason I think you believe it is because you don't want to believe that that's what's really motivating them. It's always the case. People don't want to believe what the country actually is, because if they believe it, they're going to have to confront what's in them. I don't believe that. They voted for a crook, a person who they know is stealing from, just doing everything to undermine the so-called country that they love. And then they're telling us the BS that it's economics. We know that. I'm talking about what happens to you. If you've barely escaped suicide or death or madness or yourself, you watch your children growing up, and no matter what you do, you are powerless. You are really powerless against the force of the world that is out to tell your child that he has no right to be alive, and no amount of liberal jargon, no amount of talking about how well and how far we have progressed does anything to soften or to point out any solution to this dilemma. In every generation, ever since Negroes have been here, Baldwin writes, every Negro mother and father has had to face that child and try to create in that child some way of surviving this particular world. Some way to make the child who will be despised not despise himself. I don't know what the Negro problem means to white people, Baldwin writes, but this is what it means to the Negro. What does it mean to try to construct an idea of the self in a country that is organized in every single way on the basis, on the grounds of the value gap? Not not because people are mean-spirited, but it's because it's in the very DNA of the country. And this is what makes addressing the problem, I'm leaving my notes now. This is what makes addressing the problem of white supremacy, of racial inequality in this country so difficult, because we refuse to look the ugliness of who we are squarely in the face and dare to imagine ourselves differently. This is hard work. This is hard. The value gap isn't sustained by loud racists. The value gap is sustained by all of us. All of us. You don't need white people for white supremacy to work. When I'm in New Jersey and I'm driving down Stuyvesant Avenue in Trenton, I hold a set of generalizations about the people who occupy that particular neighborhood. It's known as Little Iraq. I keep my head on a swivel, right? There's a kind of particular fear that gets generalized, that is generalized to an entire population, that informs a set of assumptions about how I interact with them. And those generalizations have policy implications. We are socialized and habituated into believing, right, certain things about certain folks, right? I write about this in the text. Dear Nancy DeTomaso at Rutgers, a social scientist, she did a series of interviews of white working class folk in Ohio and in Tennessee and in Jersey, I believe. And she said she was interviewing these workers, and one worker said, I'm sorry, black people are just lazy. They just want a handout. You've heard this before. It's been informing public discourse since I can remember remembering. And they don't want to work hard for anything. And it turned out that his father was close friends with the union boss who hooked him up with a job. Another interviewer, right? I'm sorry to say, they're just lazy. They don't want to work. It turns out that not only his friend gave him the test that he needed to take for his job, gave him the answers to the test. And what Nancy's trying to suggest in this moment is, right, not that there is some, right, overt racism that's happening. People are just hooking up their friends and families, right? That it's what she calls opportunity hoarding, that racial inequality actually is perpetuated through social networks, right? And because we're so deeply a segregated society, our social networks are typically 75% of our social networks are 100% homogeneous. So opportunities pass through certain networks that do not pass through others. Right? I'm just helping out my child. I'm not being racist. Right? I'm just helping out my neighbor. I'm not being racist. I said something jokingly to a friend the other night. I said, if we want to solve black on black crime in the United States, we just need to integrate neighborhoods. And they didn't quite get it. I said, some of you didn't get it either, right? Most crime takes place, right, because of proximity. White on white crime. 83% of crime that happens in white communities happens between white and on white people. 91% happens because our neighborhoods are segregated. If we all move together, then we'll just be criminal with each other. I don't know. Racial habits. The value gap distorts who we take ourselves to be. It blocks the way to the formation of the kinds of people democracies require. I was just talking about with Reverend Hart Anderson about Abraham Lincoln's rejection of the monstrous injustice of slavery, but his commitment to the belief that white people were superior than black people. And how those commitments blocked the way from him becoming the kind of human being his idea of democracy required. You know, America's not unique in its sins as a country. We're not unique in our evils, to be honest with you. I think where we may be singular is our refusal to acknowledge them and the legends and myths we tell about our inherent, goodness to hide and cover and conceal so that we can maintain a kind of willful ignorance that protects our innocence. See, the thing is that when the Tea Party was happening, we were saying, pundits, oh, it's just about economic populism. It's not about race. when people knew, social scientists were already writing that what was driving the Tea Party were anxieties about demographic shifts, that the country was changing, that they were seeing these racially ambiguous babies on Cheerios commercials, that the country wasn't quite feeling like it was a white nation anymore. And people were screaming from the top of their lungs, yo, this is not just simply economic populism. This is the ugly underbelly of the country. See, the thing is this, and I'll say this and I'll take the hit on it. There are communities that have had to bear the brunt of America confronting, white Americans confronting the danger of their innocence. And it happens every generation. So somehow we have to kind of, oh my God, is this who we are? And just again, here's another generation of babies. Think about it. A 2-year-old had his bones broken by two parents trying to shield him from being killed. A woman who has been married to this man for as long as I've been on the planet almost, lost her husband. For what? And so what we know is that the country has been playing politics for a long time on this hatred. We know this. So it's easy for us to place it all on Donald Trump's shoulders. It's easy for us to place Pittsburgh on his shoulders. It's easy for me to place Charlottesville on his shoulders. It's easy for us to place El Paso on his shoulders. This is us. And if we're going to get past this, we can't blame it on him. He's a manifestation of the ugliness that's in us. I've had the privilege of growing up in a tradition that didn't believe in the myths and the legends because we had to bear the brunt of them. Either we're going to change, Nicole, or we're going to do this again and again, and babies are going to have to grow up without mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, friends, while we're trying to convince white folk to finally leave behind a history that will maybe, or embrace a history that might set them free from being white. Fine.
What else?
Lord help.
After I came across this discussion, I tried to hear each and everything. You could always see the way many white people, the moment each and every black person came out to address them about racism, saying the truth about each and everything, they don't want to hear something like this. They always get pissed. They got upset. Why would you talk about racism? White people, they are so nice. They have never done anything to black people. Though there is some history here and there, but don't say something like this. You try to hear the way this is what journalists try to say. Racism, it's about hateful individuals. Don't address white people about this. But you have seen the way Eddie Crowd tried to say, no. As Black Americans, we know what we've been passing through. We know our history. We know how the system of America is operating. We can't sit here trying to twist things the way it's not. We need to say the truth. Racism in America is a structural system. They do these things. They came out with the idea to know how they are going to oppress black people. And it really worked for them. If they never bought these things of racism, try to say, this is a white person, this is a black person, this is a minority, this is a majority. Why they brought something like this? When we go in different countries, why we don't see this name minority, majority here and there? It's because this is something they brought in place to conquer. They try to look away to oppress black people. They brought different policies in their system of white supremacy to let them suffer under their law and rules. And this is something we can't come out and say, no, we should always talk about some individuals, some people, because white people, we are nice, we have never done something. No. When we talk about racism in America, the way it's expensive and it has caused a lot of damages, we are not saying each and every white. We are addressing the issue so that maybe there will be correction. There will be someone or the way the system will come out to stop each and everything. Nothing bad is not a revenge or a payback. No, we are trying to say this time around, things need to change. Enough is enough. And the time is running out. How are you going to keep living this way? Would you even like to always address this group, this here and there? It's already boring. No wonder we are trying to rate American system to come out. They need to dismantle this system. Because if they don't do anything about it, black people are not going to keep quiet. Because if you have someone who always hurt your feelings, would you choose to always keep quiet if that person keep doing the same things from 1 year to many years? No. Of course, one day you have this bold, brave energy to come out to address him. No. You've been doing this. I want to let you know how I'm feeling or how things are moving. This is what this Eddie Crowd tried to say. No, that's black people. We've been on this land. We belong here. We don't belong anywhere else. You brought us here forcefully. We had our motherland. We had where we belong. We had the life. Our ancestors suffered a lot through your hands. You never wanted to hear their cry, their voices. As a new generation, we are keep trying to scream a lot to raise white supremacy, to understand that we are fed up of this system. We can't keep stand for this. We've been struggling a lot. Our life has been always at risk. We try to be humble. We try to be silent. We try to go out there in the street, try to stalk each and everything. But it has been so hard for the white America to understand our pain. They always see our pain as something to play with. They don't see our pain as human pain. They always see us that we are aggressive. When we are addressing our issues, we are violent. We are nothing. Just try to imagine. No wonder this time around, when you see people like this come out to say the system of oppression is beyond, we are fed up. We can't keep cope with this situation. This is something really inspiring, and they are trying to rate this new generation that they need to keep rise. They need to keep talking about their issues. Forget about some white people who try to discourage them. We don't feel comfortable whenever black people are talking about their issues. We don't feel to hear your black pain, your black history. We don't want to hear. No, you need to hear it. You need to understand. If you are really interested in unity and peace, you need to hear what the other group are always claiming, what they are always talking about you, so that it may help you to go to your community to change one way or the other or narrative here and there. Because this new generation, these are the ones who have this key to go and change each and everything in their communities, in their white communities, in their church, in the white churches. Because racism is something people learn in different ways, in different groups. If you don't come out to go back in those groups, how are you expecting things to go away or to stop? Guys, let me know what you think about this episode. Drop your thought in the comment section. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.